Hey guys. So I'm here in Portland right now, and yeah, thought I'd try doing some different style video this time. So I'm gonna actually do an art critique video here at the Portland Art Museum. You can't tell right here, we're just on the edge of it. But yeah, hope you enjoy, and yeah, let's go.
One of the paintings that first popped out to me in the museum was this painting by Paul Gauguin. It was a post-impressionist painting, and as you look at it, you can see it's a small town, maybe a farming town, and it's almost like you're just entering it with the road, and you see like this edge of a garden. And what really caught my eye was the haystack there, because it reminded me a lot of Monet's haystack paintings that he used to do. And clearly he drew inspiration from Monet, since Monet was a impressionist painter and Gauguin was a post-impressionist. So probably one of Monet's more famous paintings are his Water Lily series of paintings, and actually he's painted about 250 of those, but the museum here actually had two of them. One more recent one from 1914 to 1950, and an older one from 1897 to 99. But both are of water lilies, of course. One thing that's interesting is, even though these are classified as landscapes, is they actually have no horizon line. So you're just looking at the reflection in the pond of it, and almost as the viewer is just looking straight down, and as if you're actually there. And one other thing that's interesting is Monet. This is actually Monet's garden at his house, so he actually worked here a lot, and that's probably why he ended up painting around 250 of these in the end. This artwork by Lee Bontecoue really popped out to me, much like it pops out from the frame. It reminds me a lot of cubism, but that's more, two-dimensional, but trying to make it look three-dimensional. Whereas she took the things that was given to her and actually made this three-dimensional and actually pop out from the frame. What was interesting that Lee used is that she used all sorts of things, from welded steel, salvaged canvas, saw blade wire, soot, graphite, and was really able to make this come alive with the things that was given to her. My one problem, though, is the name of the artwork. It's untitled, and one thing I noticed as I was coming through the Portland Art Museum was the fact that a lot of the artworks were actually named untitled, and it's just my personal opinion, but I feel like it's unoriginal at this point, because at that point the artist put so much work in, you should have at least some kind of name. So I feel like it's almost like the job's half done. I spotted this work by Jackson Pollock from across the room, being an artist that I've admired for some time, and learned about in school. But what was interesting to me is how small this artwork actually was. It was actually 22 by 22 inches, which was odd because, whenever I've learned about Jackson Pollock, his works have always been these massive canvases that cover the floors of a studio, and they're like the size of an entire room. But this was so small and more intimate, it really jumped out at me. Reading more about it, I learned that this is actually part of a series that he did where he was purposely trying to do smaller ones, more intimate, layered compared to his other works. He wanted to layer the paint. And his drip painting really jumped out on this one as well. And what was also interesting is he didn't use canvas on this. He actually used a different board called masonite, which is a type of hard board. It's just a bunch of pressed wood together, and the paint reacted differently to it. So this is almost an experiment for him. So as I'm looking at Noble Regard by Jules OLITSKI, I noticed how much paint was used in the making of this. And if you've ever painted before, you know that paint takes a long time to dry, and the more you use, the longer it takes to dry. And this is just globbed on. It was almost like the paint was just dumped on and then just moved and layered and stuff, and it was painted almost at once. But the texture that comes out of it is what really brings the painting to life, and creates these shadows. And it's almost like we're looking at like a satellite image of like the desert, like seeing these dunes, these waves of sand, but it's paint, and that's what really makes this painting unique from other works. So then there's this thing. Is it a abstract guitar? A green sideways sink? Maybe it's an avocado without a pit. We may never really know, but what I do know is this next part is what makes Portland, Portland. So stuff's about to get weird. Mercury in Hearse is a painting that it's a very old painting, and it's actually a painting of the scene from Ovid's Metamorphose, where Mercury flies over a festival honoring Pallas Athena. There he discovers and becomes enamored of HERSE, which is one of the maidens. One thing that's interesting about this painting, especially for the time that it was painted, was the depth of field and dimension from it, which was fairly new around that time. And they captured that by drawing a grid, which you can actually see the grid they used by the lines in the courtyard. Here we have Jerusalem from the South by David Roberts. I chose this one because of the subject. You don't really see that many paintings that are of Jerusalem, especially from a distance. It's usually like in it or something like that. And I thought that was really interesting. Another thing I really liked was the use of shadows from the clouds. The clouds are like covering the landscape and everything. If you've ever been in a valley, it's kind of fun to watch the clouds go through and see the shadows drop. And most paintings that I've noticed don't actually really capture the shadows from the clouds, especially from things like paintings from this far away. So I thought that was a nice touch by David Roberts. Going through the Native American part of the Portland Art Museum, I noticed these wooden masks that were carved out, and what really stood out to me was the fact that they reminded me a lot of the football team, the Seattle Seahawks, their logo, and actually masks like these, not these specific ones, that one's in the Seattle Museum, but helped inspire that logo.
Okay, so I just finished going through the museum, and it was an experience. I feel enriched in knowledge and art, and I hope you have too.